Now, former Heathfield High School principal Wesley Neuman, who was dismissed 2 years ago by the Western Cape Education Department, has opted to decline offers by the department. The offers were to be demoted or be transferred to a different school. In 2020, during the height of the pandemic, Neumann refused to reopen his school despite the Provincial Education Department ordering him to do so. He cited safety concerns and his refusal to risk lives of pupils and teachers. Neumann is set to lodge an appeal with the Independent Tribunal Council over his dismissal. Our reporter Nobesuthu Hejana joins us now for more. Nobesuthu, good afternoon. Good to see you. Now, the principal says he has decided to reject the offers on principle and based on what he stands for.
Certainly, Tony. In fact, we have to also cite the fact that the Department of Education in the province says at this stage it will not be giving any comments as it awaits for a formal correspondence from Mr. Neumann's legal team. This morning, he gave an emotional speech to the pupils as well as the community of Heathfield, saying that it was nice working there, but the fight continues as his legal team plans to appeal his dismissal. They are also citing that when he was charged or he was found guilty on 6 counts, the Department of Education in the province failed to be transparent as to giving them proof on how they actually got to those charges or how he was found guilty, and saying that him as well as the SGB members, citing the fears of possibly contracting COVID-19 at the height of the pandemic, were valid reasons, and his dismissal was very unfair because he was acting on behalf of the learners as well as some staff members whom at the time also had health comorbidities. But this is what his legal team had to say about their plans to seek review over his dismissal.
In our view, the decision to dismiss Mr. Neumann is deeply flawed in several respects, which in our view renders his dismissal unfair. He has then decided to challenge the dismissal in the Education Labour Relations Council, which is the bargaining council that has a mandate to resolve disputes within the education sector. What are those factors that has influenced us to advise him to challenge the dismissal? There are a number of factors, but 3 of them stand out. The first important factor is that the Education Relations Council is independent of WECED and impartial by definition, and so therefore we now have a chance to go before a panel, a tribunal, that will look at the case on its merits.
Well, Nobesuthu Hejana in the province is saying that they're disappointed by the department as this could have been handled differently.
Certainly so. For the past 2 years, SADTU has been assisting Mr. Neumann with legal representation, but at this stage he did opt to get his own legal representation. So when we spoke to the SADTU's Western Cape provincial spokesperson, Mr. Jonathan Ruston, he did say that as SADTU, they are quite disappointed at the level of how this matter was handled, and saying that the department could have been more sensitive and willing to listen to some of the reasoning behind Mr. Neumann's decision not to reopen the school, but instead they decided to act without engaging, because we were also told in that press briefing that the school currently has about 1,242 pupils, and at the time they were struggling with some of the like the taps for running water in the school. They did not have enough people cleaning in the school, so they were saying that those were the valid reasons that were given by the principal to refuse to reopen the school. But this is Mr. Jonathan Ruston talking about their disappointment as SADTU in the province.
Well, we think that it could have been dealt with much differently. COVID-19 is new to all of us. None of us has been aware of any pandemic that's affected the country in that regard. We thought that a more emotionally intelligent decision could have been taken in that regard. So therefore, SATU will play its active role to see how we as adults are able to mitigate in this difficult time, and we are very positive that we'll be able to get a positive outcome in this regard.
So pupils at the school actually want the Western Cape Education Department to meet with them, as they believe that the dismissal was actually unfair, Nobesuthu.
Well, this morning, ahead of that press briefing, we saw quite a number of pupils going to the streets to show their frustrations, and they were also joined by other pupils from schools around the area and some members of the community, and they were telling the principal and those who were attending that press briefing that it's quite unfair how the department would reach a decision without actually going to the school and also do a site visit to ensure that the school was prepared enough to allow pupils and some of the teachers back in the school. So they did have some words of encouragement to Mr. Neumann, saying that they would like to see him back at the school, and they want the Department of Education to act swiftly because they believe he is the right person who has managed to turn around even the matric results of that particular school. And this is one of the people talking about how they feel about his dismissal.
What I would like to say is that the HOD, or we as Heathfield High School, call on the HOD of Education, as well as the MEC, to come and visit our school in order to engage with the learners, as well as the SGP, on the way forward. They were able to take a decision without thinking about the impact it could have on our school, and now our education is at risk.
Okay, strong sentiments there from one of the scholars at that school. That was our reporter Nobesuthu Hejana reporting for us in Cape Town. Still